Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Gaelic Lives podcast. It's our Monday morning review show, and as everybody knows, there's a lot to discuss. There was hurling, camogie, football, and ladies football all the weekend, so we have a lot to get through, and we'll fly through it. We'll start with the hurling, and I'm going to bring Mal McMullen in here. I suppose this was the big game. Mal was Slaughtneil, taking on Sarsfields. I know it maybe feels like this was a missed opportunity for Slaughtneil. It was their fifth All Ireland semi-final. And this is probably the toughest defeat to deal with. Is that fair to say?
No doubt about it, Sean. And even the emotion in the final whistle, it was absolute silence among the supporters. I was chatting to somebody who was in the fans, and that's what they said. But four teams got on four buses yesterday, and all four teams would have realistically felt that they could have won the All Ireland. That's no exaggeration. And the other side of it, from the point of view of Slaughtneil and Sarsfields, like if Slaughtneil were going down the road to tip their toe in the water to see if it was too hot, you could understand that it was progress. But now the only currency that they'll be interested in is playing hurling in Croke Park on All Ireland final day. They've dominated Derry. They've won 5 Ulster titles in a decade or so. So they won't take any solace from near misses, and you can see that. And actually, when we're interviewing Paul McCormick after the game, it took him a wee while to gather his thoughts, but it wasn't what he said, Sean, it was how he said it. He says, I can't believe it's over. And even the way he said it, I suppose it goes back to the Cushendall game where it was an absolute belter of a game. Then they go into the Portaferry game and they're out hurled, but they find a way to win. And all of a sudden you think there's real momentum here. And it was even just his body language and the body language of the players. Like you saw clips of Shane McGuigan and TG Cahir and Paul McNeill, and just the empty expressions on their face just told it all. It was one that definitely got away. Obviously, from the point of view of the game, they were chasing it early on. Then they got back to within a point at half time. Cormac O'Doherty was exceptional in terms of playmaking, everything that he did. He missed a couple of chances in the first half that probably were valuable in the overall big picture. And in the game, Sarsfields probably found their scores that bit easier to come by. They were just that wee bit slicker. And then whenever Slaughtneil went 14 minutes without a score in that second half, you just get the feeling they weren't going to win it without a goal, because Sarsfields always were able to keep the scoreboard ticking over. And unfortunately for Mark McGuigan, the chance fell to him and he just got too much on it and went over the bar. And a nicer lad you wouldn't meet, feel for him, because that was the moment. And if it goes in, you're a hero, and it goes over, he'll regret it. But it'll just be really difficult to get over, because, as I said earlier, if you're going down for your first crusade, you can sort of tick the progress box, and the average person will say they're getting close, but I just know they're not interested in close stories. They're interested in Croke Park, and that's why this one will hurt.
I suppose, Mal, just on it, on looking at the Twitter reaction and everything else and reading the reports from the games, I know we're not in the business of criticising referees, but it was a talking point coming out of the game, was the referee's performance.
It was, and I think when players are preparing to the level of the likes of a Slaughtneil or a Sarsfields, or even last week Kilcoo and Errigal or whatever, but from the point of view of yesterday, you want consistency. That's what you want. You don't want any favours. You just want consistency. And even the way the two halves were refereed, something Paul McCormick had referenced as well. Like in the first half, it was nearly like a non-contact sport. And then the second half, there were spells where there was no freeze at all. And it comes down to a couple of things, like Slaughtneil, when they went 14 minutes without a point, like the free they got in was actually quite dubious. Peter McCullough seemed to foul his man, but it was blown for too long. And then Sean Cassidy near enough got Shane O'Regan stopped up, but he got to about the fifth step, and it was a free in, versus the one at the end, which is a really difficult one. Like Shane McGuigan won the ball, he got to about his fifth step, and it was too long, and there was as much contact there as there was in some of the other incidents. It's just the inconsistency of it that's really disappointing. But but at the same time, Slanhill didn't help their chances with the missed opportunities. But it's just it leaves it that wee bit frustrating, and sometimes you do feel, and you sometimes feel as a northerner going down south, that you nearly need to be 5 or 6 points up to take the referee out of the equation. It sometimes feels like that. Maybe I'm just the northerner, but it sometimes feels like that. And then the other one is Jack O'Connor gets man of the match, and he probably should have been sent off. He connects O'Connor without hurt his helmet, and it was happening in front of me, and like he went on to score 2 more points afterwards, and that's quite difficult to take, because that's a significant thing, and that's where the frustration seemed to have come across with the camp after the game. Just you know yourself, when you're interviewing and you get chatting to the people in the camp, that seemed to be the general level of frustration. But at the same time, when they wake up today and dig through it, and over the next few weeks, they realise that it's a long way back, and such a glorious opportunity just to not have to, made it count. Like, there was 2 goal chances in the game, neither were taken. Oisin had already made a brilliant save in the very first minute. Mark McGuigan was unlucky, his went over. And then probably the one where Shane McGuigan doesn't get a free out at the end, you just think it could have, if it hadn't went to extra time, I don't think Sarsfields would have had many complaints. If it plays on and Slaughtneil can't engineer a scoring chance out of it, well then you're gone. You haven't done the business on the day, and you're gone. So it just leaves it. But I remember interviewing Kieran Meena last year, and he did say something to me. He says he feels that the referee should really be sort of semi-professional and just give them all the support they need, and whenever they don't come up trumps, then they're held to account the same way that a player is. If a player plays poorly, he gets dropped, and if there's a couple of different performances from a referee, then they don't get the next big game or whatever. But it's just frustrating that the game is sort of left with this is a debating point, because how many times have we been in this podcast where games are decided in the last moments? Darren Lawn, who you'll hear from later on, Rory Canavan's winner, Peter Oak McCartan, go back to Seamus Darby in 1982. All these moments that decide games, and the ones at the end are always the ones that you'll remember. But absolutely sheer disappointment for Slaughtneil, and I'll say, just reiterate the fact that they fully believe they can win in All Ireland, and that's why it'll hurt.
Yeah, it was a disappointing weekend all round, Mal, for the Ulster hurling scene, because Slaughtneil were defeated, and so were Kerry Falls on Ballinderry. And we're just going to start with Ballinderry, and now I'll bring you in here, because I know I was watching this just on my phone on YouTube, and I screenshotted a red card that Ballinderry got after about 90 seconds because I couldn't believe it. It was, I'll try to describe it. Basically, the Ballinderry keeper got fouled. And there was a bit of a pushing session. I think it was Ryan Scullion come in initially and sort of nudged the guy that had fouled the keeper, and the keeper went over and shoulder barged, I suppose is the best way to describe it. And I watching it going, oh no, he's going to get the free overturned here and possibly a yellow card. He picked up a red card, and Ballinderry were already going to be up against it and playing the Cork champions, but down to 14 men after 90 seconds. It was for something. I didn't think it was a red card. I don't know. You maybe share that feelings as well. But what did you make of it now?
Yeah, there's nothing worse in a game than a necessary early red card. It just completely kills things. Funny enough, I was at the Tyrone League semi-final between Ariel Keane and Carrickmore yesterday, and the Carrickmore player was sent off in the first 10 minutes as well. Genuinely didn't see the incident and whatnot, but from a neutral perspective, it just takes the wind out of your sails. But yeah, I saw the clip you're talking about, and Cork should be doing it a service, really. It was just a free at best. There was no malice in it. Type of thing that happens all the time, and as I said, there's nothing worse than a necessary red card. I think a red card has to be 100% justified. It should be like how the legal system works, innocent until proven guilty type of thing. Give people the benefit of the, for God's sake.
I think that early on too, it always makes, if it's a red card in the first minute, it's a red card in the last minute, and I get that. But for a team, the underdogs like Ballinderry, it was an uphill battle anyway with 15 men, and that sort of the red card just put them on the back foot straight away. And Russell Rovers just pushed on and beat them well. I think they were 111 to 2 points up at one stage, and Ballinderry did sort of fight back, but the margin was too close, too large to close. And Kerry Falls sort of had the same experience. They were beaten by Watergrass Hill. Decent start for Kerry Falls, and they've had, we know the year they've had off the field, so just winning the Ulster title for the first time in 20 years was a phenomenal achievement for them. And this just, it looked like a step too far, really. And they made a good start. I think they went 2 points up inside the first 10 minutes, but Watergrass Hill just overpowered them. And I suppose that's the level of the Cork champions. I know both Watergrass Hill and Russell Rovers, I think, had players that played for McKellar, who won the senior championship in Cork. They're a amalgamated side, so obviously Kerry Falls and Ballinderry were going to be up against it. But a disappointing week on the hurling front, and on to the Camogie. Good and bad, I suppose, in terms of our Camogie representatives. Greenmore lost out in the All-Ireland final against Nakanara. They beat Nakanara in the semi-final last year before going on to win their first ever All-Ireland title. So it was going to be a big ask for them to try to back that up, but they got their Ulster title back, and they were brilliant in the first half against Nakanara. It looked like Greenmore was going to run away with it. At a stage, they were 9-5 up at half time, and Rachel Mary, as usual, she was carrying the fight. I think she scored 8 points on the day, but her usual accuracy from frees were key for Greenmore. But Nakanara, they got a goal at the start of the second half, and that brought them right back into it. And it was really nip and tuck for most of the second half. I think with about 6 or 7, maybe 8 minutes left of normal time, it was level 2-6 to 0-12. But Nakanara just finished the better team with 1-5 in that last sort of period. So that was enough for them to take the title off Greenmore. But Niamh Traza did get an All-Ireland title, a Junior B title at the weekend, and Nell, I know you were tuning into it. So a big occasion for the club, and a great for Ulster Camogie.
Yeah, great win. Took the game a while to get going. It was only 1-1 at the half time. I suppose the thing about this match is that there was no gimme for Niamh Traza. Their opponents are from Glasgow, but they're the only senior Camogie team in the entirety of Scotland. And I've written here on route to the final, they've scored 8-15, 7-14, and 3-11. So they're a damn good team. We're really strong Ulster contingent as well. So the fact that Niamh Traza limited them, Niamh Traza won 2-3 to 4 points. The fact Niamh Traza limited them 4 points across the entire hour. I think only a point from play or 2 points from play is really good going. And Niamh Traza should have won more really. A lot of their shots dropped short, but we'll forgive them for that. I'd say they're not too worried. They won All Ireland, but yeah, it's their second All Ireland in 4 or 5 years. They won the delayed All Ireland. The game was played in 2020, but it was a 2020 competition. And there's some really good players. I've seen them regularly enough for Tyrone, and one of those Tyrone players, Ross McLean, was a player in the match. She scored 1-2, including the goal. It sort of opened up a wee bit of breathing space after a very, very, very low scoring first half. She scored the goal just in the 20 seconds of the second half. So in a sense, it really won the game for them, just given how much Darragh team were struggling to get the scores. But yeah, really good performance, and fair play to them. And I suppose it's another indication of the progress that the Camogie teams are winning. Darragh Lawn won the Brady McManaman just a couple of weeks back. And Gannon have won All Ireland Junior B. And I suppose the question would be, from my perspective, to maybe even step it up a level in the years to come, give it a bit of a crack at Junior A level, you know.
Yeah, I think that's maybe the next step up for them, maybe. But on the ladies' front, then Mal Downings were in the All Ireland final, and I know they had a brilliant run this year and a real historic journey. And I know you done a feature with them last week, sorry, but a little bit disappointed that they didn't come away with an All Ireland crown, but still a great year for them.
Yeah, I'm sure they're devastated today whenever they realise it. 12-4, and they had the breeze in the first half, and they didn't make it count. I was watching a wee bit of it this morning just quickly before we come on here, and they were 6-4 down, and then just didn't get going at all in the second half. I think the Limerick side, they got a couple of points early on, but with 5 minutes to go, they got a penalty. Shannon McGrady was fouled, and Denise Doherty, who's sort of their goal machine all year, she missed the penalty. It was still a big ask, Sean, but sometimes a penalty can shoot a wee bit of life back into a team, and you maybe win the kick out, and all of a sudden you're hoping momentum swings it for you, but it didn't happen. And I suppose they'll just have to. I saw a picture up on somebody's Instagram this morning with a picture of the cups, the Ulster Cup sitting in the middle of the table, and it says, "We've conquered all of Ulster." So at least that's where they have to really pick now. Make no mistake about it. I'm sure there was absolute somber in that dressing room, but maybe last night they did kick on and just sometimes after an All-Ireland final, it's the only time you really get to actually let loose, because you're sort of always in the next game mode. But like 8 years ago, Shannon McGrady put out a Facebook message to find out was there enough to make a senior team, because they were entering the All-Ireland Gaeltacht competition, so they needed a men's team and a ladies team, just for people who maybe didn't read the feature. And then all of a sudden they're in an All-Ireland final and they're up to intermediate football, and they're going to be going up against the likes of Dunloe and next year, and I know that they need to get promoted back up in the league again, but that's where they need to go, and probably they'll have to mark it down as a season of progress, Sean. They had 5 seasons in Donegal Junior before they won it. Downings and Dunloe, and I think Gidor came out of it at a stage, but eventually it opened for them this year. And the good thing about the provincial championships is that it actually, if you're moving up a grade, it gives you a wee bit of a step ahead of the other teams coming into next year. But that won't probably wash from the fact that they didn't win the All-Ireland. But as you say, progress, and they'll just have to get back on the horse, whatever stage they start training for the new year.
And Malin, on Saturday night at the Ulster Intermediate final, Ballinderry beat Arva by a point. This was a dramatic game, a dramatic winner to win it. And I know, as you mentioned, you caught up with Darren Lawn after the game, so we're going to hear from him at the end of the pod. But what did you make of it? It was looking like Arva at a stage. Ballinderry come back into it, goals at either end. Like, it was a great game.
Brilliant game, 2-8 to 1-12. The scoreline probably doesn't do justice to how exciting it was. It was a brilliant game, a sporting game, 2 teams going for it. Gareth McInnes, as he informed me after the game when I was outside the Ballinderry dressing room, must have been tuned into the podcast, was able to tell us that Damien Donaghy and myself had tipped Arva, and there's a wee bit of a joke about that there. But, I did sort of thought Arva would pose Ballinderry problems, but from early on, Ballinderry were sort of on the money. They get early points. Like Shea Coleman had the ball over the bar fairly early on, with the first score actually, like in the first minute, and Ryan Bell to score. So they settled well, but then Barry Donnelly got a goal, and it sort of shot Arva into life. But to be fair, Ballinderry got back, settled a wee bit, but at half time there was 2 points in it. They made a change at half time. Tristan Noah Kaufman was playing at 11 on Gareth McInnes, almost to stop him, and it was working. And then at half time, Gareth McInnes went to number 11. Rory Forbes seemed to go from wing back to centre back, and Niall O'Donnell, who was up against Barry Donnelly, actually then started to go at Kieran Beatty a wee bit more, and within a few moments they were level. And then they conceded a messy enough goal, a short kick out. Ryan O'Neill got caught in possession, back of the net, Connell Sheridan to the back of the net, and then you're thinking to yourself, where is this game going? And they had another chance. Like over the game, Sean, Ballinderry probably deserved to win it. They created 5 goal chances in the game, and they missed one. The next move was actually a brilliant pattern and play, a kick out to Darren Lawn in midfield, and Charlie Crozier with his less preferred right foot just pulled the shot wide, but then the ball was in the back of net. I think 3 minutes later, Shane McCann, that man we spotted, we were both covering the Carrick Cupping game, and again Darren Lawn, he assisted 1-3, he made the goal. Shane McCann was surrounded by about 5 Arva players, and somehow got a shot away into the top corner, and it was level, and Ballinderry just seemed to push on after that. They went a 1-up, it was sort of point for point, they went 1-up, then Ryan Bell had a chance, it would have been lights out, and Cian O'Hara made a brilliant save, and then it was level again, and then Darren Lawn kicked the winner. And the disappointing thing for Arva will be they had a couple of chances near the end. Like, they had went 23 games without losing, so it tells you that there's a wee bit of game management in there. But James Morris took a shot late on and missed it, and it wasn't the right option. But you just wonder, did he know that there was still time? Like, there was maybe about 20 seconds left to try and work to a shooter. Sometimes you just think our players thinking, we need to get a shot away here. But they still won the next kick out, and Kieran Beatty won the free, and he lamped it in high towards, I think it was Conal Sheridan and Oisin Duffin. But Ben McInnes came out, made a punch, and then that was the game set and match. That was the game over. But a fantastic game. I was chatting to Finbar Riley afterwards. Like, they were absolutely devastated. His take was that Ballinderry, he gave them full credit for winning, but he more or less said, look, Ballinderry were just ahead at the end, and they're so disappointed. They knew the run had to end sometime, but I suppose when you're in final, you just don't want that to be the day that it ends. But from Ballinderry's point of view, as I say, I thought they were the better team. Conor O'Neill had started his first game since maybe the middle of the Derry Championship with hamstring problems. He was very dangerous at running at them, and he scored 3 points. You know, Rory Forbes started to come into it that wee bit more. And they're two cornerbacks, actually. Not that I don't usually use that term because they don't exist anymore. They're two men coming up. Aaron Mullen and Ryan O'Neill always were the overlappers. Ben McInnes didn't do it as often. And as I say, Shane McCann got that vital goal at that point. But like Darren Lawn, 11 years ago, he was a senior winner in the same pitch. It was so fitting that he scored the winner because he was exceptional. And whenever he was taken off near the end, he was given like a sort of a round of applause after James Morris was missed, and he was given a round of applause, and he was sort of just praying for the final whistle at that point. But they now play Austin Stacks in the All Ireland semi-final, so I just wonder how much interaction Kieran Donaghy and Clonleith Gilligan will have over the next couple of weeks. Will they just block each other on the phones? Who knows? But a brilliant occasion for them, and like the Arva story is over for now. And to be fair, at Gareth McInnes' acceptance speech, he paid tribute to them. He spoke very, very well, to be fair, but he more or less highlighted Arva's sort of quality and sort of was saying, look, lads, go and give senior football a real push. And I would imagine he'll want to do that. And his final word was to Judy Gormley. Whenever he had thanked everybody and paid all the tributes, he sort of says, look, I would say Arva will join me in this. He highlighted that the GA was one big family, and that as much as Ballinderry and Arva were going toe to toe, and he says his thoughts were with the people of Trillick and the Gormley family, and there's a lovely round of applause. And in a game that there wasn't a dirty stroke in, and there was hurt for Arva and joy for Ballinderry, I think it was just excellent that something like that can come into people's thoughts. And I thought it summed up the week that it was. When you think back to the picture that Trillick shot up of Judy's send-off, you know, with the coffin in the middle of that huddle, I think it was a nice touch.
Yeah, I was watching on. I thought McInnes' speech was really good at the end, and that was one of the highlights, as you said, about the Judy Gormley mention and the round of applause from everybody there. I suppose last week we showed the top scorers in the senior championship. Malin, one of the talking points was the fact that Rory Canavan didn't score in the Ulster final, but he was the top scorer in Ulster. And for the intermediate, the top scorer didn't even make the final. It was Thomas Kearney from Darragh Lawn. So any big surprises here in terms of the top scorers?
I've not really. I suppose it shows Darragh Lawn were obviously in the preliminary round, and they were obviously involved in that game. There only can be one game we're talking about that day in the penalties in Cargan, and you'll see Paddy McAleer listed there at number 5. He was exceptional that day, and I said it on here before, and I'll say it again. I'm interested to see where Andy McEntee plays him this year, because he was excellent up front that day. And then I suppose Shea McCann, Kevin Boucher actually was very good on. I forgot to mention he was excellent. He actually, it was a bad omission by me there. He kicked 2 brilliant points actually to keep Arvid level before Darren Lawn won it. And then big Brian Ken at the bottom with his real performance, the 2 goals he got at full forward to actually pull Darragh Lawn back into the game that day. So, but it just shows you that there's more heroes than scorers when you think back to Darren Lawn and Peter McCartan and other people who have stepped up, like Keelan McColgan scored a vital goal in the junior final, and he was plagued with injury. So it's a good example that there's always a surprise package. And actually, Jarlath Bell did mention that in his interview afterwards. Jarlath Bell did say that they sort of thought, like Davy Hart even said it to the Ballinderry boys in the changing room. He says, like, teams will cancel each other out, and it'll be somebody else. And Darren Lawn was the man.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Just we're going to hear from Darren Lawn at the end of the pod, but just before we wrap up, I know there was underage action at St Paul's on Paul McGuire tournaments over the weekend. So you just give us a roundup of all those.
Yeah, just a round up here. Cookstown were winners after extra time against Mayo Bridge, 19 points to 111, and they now play Four Masters, the champions. And then this weekend we have Mahara Felt up against Clan Aaron, and I was chatting to both David McErlean and Tommy Coleman, and you'll read about that in Gaelic Life this week as they look forward to their game. Mahara Felt actually won the Paul McGuire. They beat Drummondee in the final. Drummondee were holders, and I know Niall had been keeping us informed with reports and things up on the website about the way that competition panned out. So a great result for Mahara Felt. In the Hurling Minor Championship, there was wins for Owen Rowe, Dungannon and Sean McCool's. They'll now play this weekend in the Shield final. The winners will play Lavey in the Cup, and there'll be a Lavey article in this week's Gaelic Life as well. And then on the other side, Breda and Glenravel, Glenara for the other teams. But we'll be following that over Christmas and let you know how things pan out. But those minor competitions are just invaluable. We're only mentioning them here, but we'll maybe be mentioning those names in 4 or 5 years' time whenever the adult stuff comes in. So it's a good introduction for them at this stage.
And I think, man, you were earlier on in your last Monday pod of the year. So obviously Christmas and the New Year coming just around the corner. It's worth mentioning our 25% discount. Anybody out there thinking or struggling to get a present for a GA lover, 25% discount off GaelicLife.com is certainly the way to go. And we're building now. That's all the Ulster campaigns wrapped up. So myself and the 2 boys will be working very hard on the All-Stars. Now that's the next big event, I suppose we're hosting is the Gaelic Life All-Stars in March, on the 7th of March. So we're going to be working away over Christmas and into the new year on that. But that's all we have for today's show. We're going to hear from Darren Lawn now. He was the winner for Ballinderry. He was the hero on Saturday night. So we're going to hear from him, and we'll be back on Thursday with another feature pod. So thanks everybody for tuning in.
And with Darren Lawn, Darren, you kicked the winning point in an Ulster final. What did that feel like when you saw it going between the posts?
I'll tell you the truth, I was just glad it went over the bar. I seen it at a couple of yards, there was nobody near me. I thought it was getting to the dying stages, and I just said, have a go. What's the worst that could happen?
The game itself, you were down at half time, you got level, they get the goal. What went through your head at that point? Because it was another pill, I suppose.
Look, we've been faced with them hills all year, so we have. Whenever we went that goal down, Arva were on the press, they were going hard and heavy at us. To be honest, this group of lads have never laid down all year. They've kept on fighting and fighting. We just knew we were going to come down the stretch and see what happened near the end. That's all we had to do.
You were taken off just at the last moment. You were heading towards the stand when the final whistle was going. You were getting a standing ovation. What was your thoughts at that point?
I was thinking, just blow this whistle up and get this game over quick. That's all. I was just glad to hear the final whistle. No point telling me. I just was glad to hear it.
11 years ago you're here, you're Ulster champions. You're Ulster champions again. Gareth said in his speech the young boys are now men. So what has changed in the group this year, Darren?
What's changed? Well, it's changed the mix of men and young cubs. They're finally taking on. The older men's giving the young boys sort of advice, teaching them how to play football basically, and they're all listening. They're all putting in their effort, going to the gym day in, day out, and giving it 100%, just like no other year. So it has, definitely has.
The game itself, I was interviewing Jarlath Bell there, and it says it took on a life of its own, and it did. What was it like to play in that second half, Darren? Because it was unbelievable to watch.
It was hectic. It was very, very hectic. It was just back and forward. And then whenever Sucky missed that goal chance, I actually thought he had buried it, but the keeper made a brilliant save. I was just glad he got it.
Final point, I know you have an All-Ireland to prepare for in a couple of weeks' time, but before that, what does this do for the group, winning this title here today?
Oh, it does massive things. Jarlath keeps talking all year about keeping the lights on Tuesday night. We're looking for it and that, so we do. Everybody just wants to be out and going at it.